So, I turned 25 today, and that's an interesting age to be, I think. Because, on the one hand, if I play my cards right and live for 100 years, I'm only a quarter of the way through my life. On the other hand, however, being 25 makes me a quarter of a century old. That sounds old. I certainly have a lot of online friends who would tell me that I am old. I have a lot of friends who are a good bit younger than me who fret about their age. They call themselves old and decrepit even though they're like 20. I know someone who's only a year or two older than me who calls themselves old. But I don't feel old. While other people are fretting over the fact that the Nintendo Wii is 18 years old, I'm looking forward to the next Switch and thinking of getting into PC gaming one day. While other people stress over the fact that the Angry Video Game Nerd is a 20-year-old show, I'm here excitedly trying my own hand at YouTube. But sometimes I wonder if my lack of existential dread is like a bad thing. I hear two things all the time, which, while they're not typically said together, kind of go hand in hand. You only live once, and you can die any day. And yeah, I only live once, so I hold this life at great value and don't want to lose it. But the thing about how we can die any day now strikes me as odd. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like that question is proposed now more than ever. But, I do remember being younger and people asking me or themselves, what if I died tomorrow? And the question is always proposed as some profound statement, as if I never considered it before. But I guess I have to admit that it's an always relevant question because it speaks to something true. We can die at any moment. We could get run over by a drunk driver, or be crushed by a meteor, or die in an earthquake, or the ground could open up and swallow me whole. Hell, I could die in a totally meaningless way, like falling down some stairs.
Okay, Bentley. The Tyrannosaurus that we let loose has destroyed the gingerbread house.
Alright, Sly. Now's the time to get in there and beat up the bad guy and steal the thing we're stealing.
Alright, Bentley. I'm going in. At school today they were talking about how we don't develop permanent memories until later in life. Am I old enough to have permanent memories? What if I try to have a permanent memory? I think I'll submit this one to the bank. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny
And if you
ever saw
you
it,
you would even say
it glowed.
This is stupid. I didn't even want to be Rudolph. Why am I here? I look stupid right now. Oh.
Hey, recess ended 5 minutes ago. Get over here.
Oh crap. I really care about being late for some reason. Wow, my thighs are really soft for some reason. Hey Preston, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess they're kind of soft. When people ask, what if you die? They're either trying to be motivational or they're expressing an anxiety. In terms of motivation, I kind of question it. Like, sure, the fact that we could die at any moment should make us more kind, adventurous, etc., etc., but instead it makes us small, stupid, and, I think I heard this from a horse once. So, a few years ago, a couple of obscure YouTubers started a death-themed YouTube channel. They had this silly gimmick where they deleted their channel after 1 year. You probably never heard of it. But anyway, the idea was to explore impermanence, and to teach people to live in the moment. Though my cynical brain interpreted it as, let's use FOMO marketing to make people watch our videos and buy our merch from this temporary project, but that's an ungenerous reading. I didn't really watch the channel because missing out isn't really one of my fears, but I appreciate the intent they had. However, one of the hosts of this obscure death-themed YouTube channel you've never heard of has a podcast, and in that podcast they were playing a game of $1 Million But, where they're offered $1 million with a caveat, and they have to decide if they're going to accept the $1 million. So this YouTuber gets his turn, and it says, $1 million, but you only have 15 years left to live, or some similarly short amount of time. And this YouTuber readily accepted the million, stating, imagine how much I could get done in that time, if I knew I had that time limit. Or something like that. That's just bonkers to me. Like, you care that little about your friends and family? This dude's mom is still alive, and he's just going to die before her and make her deal with that? And for what? To motivate himself to make 1 or 2 movies or write a handful of books? People who say YOLO or you can die at any time while trying to be motivational tend to be rich, I noticed. They have their money, they have their security, and they have everything figured out already. In this economy, I'm not sure $1 million is enough to live life to the fullest while making movies and stuff for 15 years. So I feel like this YouTuber was probably taking his own millions into account. If I had 15 years left, imagine how much I could get done. That seems a lot easier to say when you can get millions of views by staring at a banana, you know? Because the reality for a lot of us is, we don't really have much choice but to live life kind of slowly. A while ago, I gave a lecture after I experienced COVID, which left me bedridden for half a month and too weakened to record any videos for another month. Frankly, it wasn't a good lecture because I didn't spend enough time explaining what my point was. Because while I had COVID, I had to sit there and watch my life pass me by. See, I had just released a video on DugDug, and to my surprise, it quickly reached over 1,000 views. I know that's not a lot, but it was way more than my first video and way more than I was expecting. I was so ready to make more videos, but then I got sick and had to just lay there, trying desperately to get back on the saddle. You know, eventually I got better, and I was happy to be able to move again. I tried to live my life to the fullest to make up for lost time. I got back into exercising and trying to make videos at full speed, and it felt good at first. But then, nothing changed. I put the pedal to the metal and tried to be as productive as possible, and nothing changed, except that I got tired faster. Honestly, having COVID and being forced to watch my life pass me by wasn't as deflating as trying my damnedest to make progress in life and instead running in place. Turns out you can only make videos so fast. Turns out really wanting to take college courses again doesn't mean shit without money. Turns out working harder at your dishwashing job doesn't earn you even a penny more because it's an hourly wage, and your hard work doesn't mean anywhere near as much as you just being in that building and giving hours of your life to throwing out barely touched food. It doesn't help that sometimes my brain is just mean to me. Like, I'll be trying to work on something that I genuinely love working on, but instead I'll just stare at what I want to be doing, feeling like sand is being poured through my brain. Like, sometimes when I try to make myself do a task, Even if it's a task I'm personally motivated to complete, it feels like I'm chewing my own arm off. I've been told this might be ADD or anxiety or even depression. I'd like to know which it is so I could seek medication or treatment or whatever I need, but until recently, I haven't had the money to seek these things out. So now I can talk to a doctor and find out what's wrong with me, but up to this point I've just been bashing my head into walls and hating myself. People who say, "What if you die tomorrow?" in an attempt to be motivational can kiss my fucking ass. Yeah, I could die tomorrow, but that doesn't mean I have the resources to act like I will die tomorrow. To me, it's not a profound observation. It's a statement of the fucking obvious while I'm already trying my best. But that's just one reason I think it's dumb. Because I think the people who say, "Oh, what if you die tomorrow?" don't realize there are people out there who would say, "Good." Was that girl flirting with me? There was a time I didn't want to live. I had done terrible things, and I spent a long time not able to see a future for myself. And I thought life would be empty because I knew I was unworthy of love or forgiveness, even though I was already loved and forgiven. I spent years of my life waiting to die. The fabled car accident, the meteor, the trip down the stairs. I went through life waiting for and welcoming my death tomorrow, but I didn't die. Day after day after day, I lived. I wasn't prepared for that, really, because you only live once, and you can die at any time were so heavily enforced in my mind. I was a little surprised to wake up every morning. Eventually, I learned to forgive myself and started living again. But similarly to when I got over my COVID, not much changed, even though I was now trying to make progress in my life. Nothing changed. Not at first. But over time, things did change. Things did get better. And I learned more about myself. I started making a life for myself. I still have a long way left to go, as it's just some foundations as of now, but the progress is actually ramping up. I have a clearer image of where I want to go and what I want to do, and it's crystallizing faster and faster. And it's all because I exercised some patience. Because, as much as motivational gurus will try to convince you otherwise, a life isn't built in a day. It's built in multiple days, weeks, months, and years, decades even, and in quarter centuries too. But not all of those days will be rewarding, productive days. Some of those days will be the hardest days, difficult beyond your imagining. I know my hardest days are still ahead of me, and that terrifies me. But I'm also terrified of reaching the end of my life and having not lived it enough. This brings me back to being 25, and how there's two perspectives on that. On the one hand, I'm already a quarter through my life, and that's scary. On the other hand, I'm only a quarter through my life, and that's scary. This reminds me of a parable. Not a parable taught by Jesus or about Stanley, but one that was revealed to me in a dream. See, there was once a young fool who was living in dread of the life ahead of him. He knew there would be tears and heartbreak in his future, hard work and trials by fire. Moral failings awaited him, as did hard lessons. The young fool thought that life was unbearably long. One day, the young fool found a wishing well, and he wished for the well to put his mind at ease. The well showed him his own reflection, but it wasn't really him, as the reflection was of him as an old man. The old fool who looked back at him was nearing the end of his life, and deeply regretted living frugally and in fear the whole time. The old fool believed that life was unbearably short. The young fool then realized the error of his ways, and he became happy.
Preston, I don't understand. You're not a professor here, you're a student. Actually, you're hardly a student. You haven't attended any classes in years. You aren't qualified, and your lesson plans lack focus. If I'm going to let you teach this class, you're going to have to tell me why it's so important that you do this thing.
I don't think you would understand.
Try me.
I just think it would make me happy.
Your class won't be worth any credit. There's an abandoned building at the south of the campus. If you want to use the lecture hall there, it'll be your job to clean and repair it. Good luck, Preston. Oh, and also, could you at least try to dress more like a professor? If you're going to pretend to be a teacher, the least you can do is put up the smallest facade of one.
Good morning. I'm Professor Preston, though I assume most of you will just refer to me as PP before the end of the semester.
Anyways, today, Derek.
Huh?
My name's Derek.
I want you all to write a 1,000-word essay about your homework opinions. It'll be due tonight at midnight. Please leave. Oh, hey class. Happy Halloween. It's not that I love Scrooge 1970 in spite of its flaws. I love Scrooge 1970 at least... Ah, damn it, my nose. Hold on. I hope you've enjoyed my lectures this semester. It's been an exciting, scary, difficult, and wonderful year for me. Professor? Ha. Or... Hold on, is that a fucking... So that's how Malp is formed. All started here, with just Rick, Morty, and the garage floor. We can die at any moment. I don't think life is a 100-yard dash, and I don't think it's a marathon either, because both of those imply a strict goal and a strict time limit. It's more like building a thing, like a city, a castle, or a sculpture, and you don't know when you have to stop working on the thing. So you just take your time and work earnestly and sincerely on building the thing at the pace that seems right, not because you're threatened by a timer or by the need to pace yourself, but because it's fun to pace it the way you're doing it. The question of, what if I die tomorrow, isn't an entirely useless question. I actually think it's a really good question to confront at least once in your life. However, at the end of the day, there's only one answer to that question. I would be dead. But there's another question that we need to ask ourselves more often. Actually, it's a question we have to answer every single day we wake up, whether we know we answered it or not. It's a question I actually have a harder time answering, and I usually answer it differently each time. But I always find it more fulfilling and useful to wrestle with this question. Because while what if I die is a good question, the better question might just be, what if I lived?